The night the lights went out in L.A., see the darkness and the damage caused by high winds. Just back from overseas, this soldier is now on a new mission to find his stolen truck.
I don't care if it comes back with a million dents or blown motor, or perfectly fine just like I had it, but I just want that truck back.
And 'tis the season for shoplifting. You may be surprised at what gets stolen the most. And a couple of fails caught on tape, a cheerleader, and the big man who brings holiday cheer to children. Your Independent News Network starts right now. Hello everyone, I'm Mike Mickle. Welcome to INN News. We begin with some wicked weather that's causing problems out west and in the Midwest. The lights went out in Southern California because of 80-mile-per-hour hurricane-force Santa Ana winds. We can see the power shut off in this tower cam pointed straight at LAX. The power was out for several hours there, canceling and delaying flights, and at one time more than 200,000 were in the dark. The winds brought down this large tree onto a home in San Jose. No one was hurt, but the home has been deemed unlivable. And it's cleanup time in parts of Michigan after a heavy snowstorm last night. The state capital of Lansing got between 8 and 10 inches of snow, enough to knock down this awning at a gas station. Heavy snow also led to the collapse of an inflatable dome at a golfing range outside of Jackson. Well, from winds and snow to that wildfire that burned up to 30 homes last month in Reno, Nevada. As Shannon Moore from our affiliate KRXI reports, it also destroyed much of the area's natural landscape.
Technical teams in southwest Reno are rummaging through debris and ash from the 2,000-acre fire that blasted through this area just 12 days ago. The damage is extensive not only to homes, but also the vegetation in the area. Their job is to come up with a restoration plan and handle the bigger threat of potential erosion and flooding.
The potential for runoff is higher, of course, without the vegetation, but also because of the heat of the fire. It makes the soil hydrophobic. It makes the water want to just run across the surface as opposed to absorbing into the ground.
That could pose water quality issues and potential for landslides. Here on the Ridgeview Slope, the team is recommending straw wattles that will catch residue and debris. One of the positives that the assessment team found was the fact that the wind was blowing through here so fast during the time of the fire that it actually moved the fire pretty rapidly over these areas, meaning it didn't burn as intensely as they originally thought. And that's good news for existing terrain.
It burns off the above ground vegetation, but hasn't really hurt the below ground portion of a lot of these plants. Native perennial vegetation stands a pretty good chance of recovering.
Plans to eventually reseed much of the burned area are also in the works, if they can pay for it. They're seeking donations and applying for grants as they currently have no restoration budget. Incident Commander Linda Nelson says they'll need to restore 3/4 of the land that was destroyed in the fire.
It'll be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and really what we're having to do today is we're trying to prioritize that.
The team will map out what they call prescriptions or treatments for the impacted areas, and ideally the plans will go into effect as soon as funding becomes available.
A lot of that will need to occur immediately, especially the emergency measures, the straw wattles, the check dams going in the creeks and such.
But even with these extraordinary efforts, it'll be quite some time before the land heals itself.
Probably 4 to 5 years you'll see it'll be pleasing to look at, and in 15 to 20 years it'll assume a lot of that contour that you saw before the fire here.
Shannon Moore reporting for INN News.
We head overseas now, where an historic visit by Hillary Clinton wraps up, and summer is just beginning down under. Here's your global news now. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has wrapped up her historic visit to Myanmar. She met with the country's new president to urge him to release all the country's political prisoners. The new government has already freed dozens of prisoners. It's estimated another 1,500 remain imprisoned. One of Syria's main trading partners is slapping sanctions on the regime of Bashar al-Assad. Turkey accused Syria of choosing brutal repression of its own people over democratic reforms. The sanctions include freezing all financial transactions and Syrian government assets and stopping the transfer of weapons to the Syrian army. It's summertime down under, and these surfers are hanging 10 in neon at Sydney's famous Bondi Beach. Their dark wetsuits with neon stripes and glowing surfboards transform the beach.
There was also fireworks to usher in the first day of summer. And that's your Global News Now.
Well, for soldiers who serve overseas, there's nothing like coming home. For one Omaha soldier, that meant buying the truck of his dreams. But as Megan McRoberts from our affiliate KPTM reports, his mission switched gears to find the person who stole his prized possession.
Tyler Mass is one of the brave soldiers that has served overseas. He came back home in July with a pocket full of saved up cash from the military. In no time, he used that hard-earned money to buy his dream car, this oversized 1983 Chevy pickup.
One-of-a-kind truck. You see a lot of 80s, a lot of old trucks like mine driving around, but nothing like mine.
Tyler says he thought his car was safe when he left it parked here, locked up with his keys in hand. When he came back down not too long after, he couldn't believe someone would actually try to get away with his prized possession. Now his mission is to get it back here where it belongs.
Dropped my jacket, my sweatshirt, 3 pops I was carrying. Honestly, I think a tear came to my eye.
He says he feels more robbed of his time overseas.
They say we're the 1% that goes overseas, and not trying to sound like a big pride person, but we're the ones that do it. And I come back, spend my money that's keeping you guys happy and safe, and someone just steals my truck.
But he has a glimmer of hope.
I had to pick the most obvious one to drive.
One of his friends spotted it last night in Omaha.
Thank God that it's still driving. I don't care if it comes back with a million dents or blown motor, or perfectly fine just like I had it, but I just want that truck back.
So as this soldier continues his search, he hopes his loud, oversized ride will grab enough attention to get it home before he's redeployed. Megan McRoberts reporting for INN News.
Well, more than 99,000 of you could get a nice check just in time for the holidays. The IRS says it's sitting on $153 million in unclaimed refund checks because people didn't update their addresses. If you think you're entitled to a refund, head to irs.gov and click on Where's My Refund? From unclaimed money to unused vacation days. Maybe I need to take one. Why we aren't taking off from work as Ryan gets back to business.
Many Americans will let some of their last remaining vacation days go unused this year. A survey from Expedia finds that the average worker earned 14 days off, but only actually used 12 of them in 2011. And with the average full-time worker earning around $39,000 a year, it adds up to $34 billion worth of time. Many say they forfeit the days because they can't afford to travel or they didn't plan ahead. And being Santa can be stressful, making the holiday feel more naughty than nice. A recent survey from Consumer Reports found 90% of Americans have at least one holiday pet peeve. 68% of those surveyed say crowds and waiting in line stress them out the most. 37% say it's holiday debt. 28% will say holiday shopping in general is a pain. Add to the mix that 15% say they dread having to be nice.
How about the top of the Empire State Building?
Oh, yes, that's perfect. It's the nearest thing to heaven we have in New York.
And you may soon get to own a piece of that heaven. The iconic skyscraper, along with 2 other Manhattan properties, might become part of a public company and real estate investment trust. That means investors could buy stock in the historical site.
The Empire State Building was completed in 1931 and stretches 102 stories high. For your Back to Business, I'm Ryan Betts.
Today, December 1st, is World AIDS Day. The White House put up a red ribbon on the front to mark the day. The Centers for Disease Control estimates more than 33 million people worldwide are currently infected with the HIV virus. Approximately 50,000 Americans become infected with the potentially deadly virus each year. A Michigan cheerleader who took a nasty fall is in stable condition. 20-year-old Taylor Young fell after the collapse of a cheerleading raise line at last night's Michigan State basketball game. She fell face first onto the hardwood floor. She was taken out on stretcher. She was checked for a concussion, but turned out okay. A Christmas flower you can keep alive all season long, but how? We have a fix for your poinsettia problem. And we keep with the Christmas theme with a tree thief who keeps returning to the scene of the crime, and a Santa who hits a snag and ends up blowing his cover. It's all coming up on INN.